Hello everybody and welcome to this video where I'm going to analyse the Owen Shear's poem Winter Swans. As always, we start off by looking at the poet themselves, so let's have a look at Owen Shear's. Now, Owen Shear's was born in Fiji in 1974 but actually grew up in South Wales in Abergavenny from the age of 9. He's a poet, an author, a playwright and a TV presenter. Winter Swans comes from the collection Skirrid Hill. Now, Skirrid derives from the Welsh word for divorce or separation. And in all of the poems in this collection, there's a sense that things are falling apart. And of course, we see that in Winter Swans. So let's take a quick look at the poem. Fairly easy to understand. I'll just give you a sort of read through and a literal translation, but it's not too tricky at all. The clouds had given their all, 2 days of rain and then a break in which we walked. So it's been raining heavily for a couple of days, and then when it stops raining for a second, we go out for a walk. The waterlogged earth gulping for breath at our feet as we skirted the lake, silent and apart. So the ground was filled with water from the rain, and we walked around the lake, around the outside edge of the lake, but we were not talking to each other. Until the swans came and stopped us with a show of tipping in unison, as if rolling weights down their bodies to their heads, they halved themselves in the dark water, icebergs of white feather, paused before returning again, like boats righting in rough weather. So, what's going on here? Quite a bit to unpick here. So, basically, they stop because they see two swans, and these swans are moving together in sort of symmetry. They're mirroring each other's movements in the water. As they dive into the water, they do that at the same time. They mate for life, you said, as they left, porcelain over the stilling water. I didn't reply, but as we moved on through the afternoon light, slow stepping in the lake's shingle and sand, I noticed our hands that had somehow swum the distance between us and folded one over the other like a pair of wings settling after flight. So you told me that swans stick together as a couple for life, and I didn't reply, but I noticed that our hands were getting closer to each other, and by the end we were holding each other's hands. Fairly simple poem then. In terms of a love and relationships poem, Winter Swans reflects the tough times of a relationship and probably compares best to neutral tones. Both take place around a lake. Both have lots to do with the symbolic meaning of nature, but the crucial difference, I suppose, is that neutral tones ends with dismay, whereas Winter Swans has an optimistic ending. Now, let's have a look at some of the language and structure. We'll start with structure because structure is the point most people don't write about in the exam, so I think if you're looking for high marks, make sure you make some structure points. The poem is mostly written in verses of 3 lines. 3-line stanzas are known as tercets, and in a relationship about a couple, the 3-line stanzas gives a sense of imbalance. It suggests there's something wrong in the relationship. And we can also talk about the uneven line length having the same effect. Everything feels disjointed, and that reflects the broken nature of the relationship. The lines being so different in their length reflects the difference and the distance between the two people in the couple. However, we must point out that the final stanza of the poem is a couplet made up of 2 lines, and this reflects the optimistic ending, where the couple are holding hands. So the 2-line stanza reflects how things are now becoming better. And it does this in 2 ways. The first way it does this is by being different to the rest of the poem, which is made up of tercets. So all of the negative content in the poem is made up of tercets. So when we get to a couplet, we notice that things are changing, they're different. But also just by being a couplet. Many poets use couplets in love poetry, each line representing one of the lovers. The fact that lines are a couple, just like the 2 people in the poem are a couple. There's a lot of imagery in the poem, lots of natural imagery. To begin with, the negative aspects of the relationship are presented through pathetic fallacy, where the setting reflects the character's mood. So the clouds had given their all, 2 days of rain, symbolizes the state of the couple's relationship. Things are not good, just like the weather. Not only is there pathetic fallacy, but there's also personification. The clouds had given their all suggests that the clouds have almost been deliberately attacking the couple, and it reflects the downtrodden victim mentality of the speaker, who's an incredibly negative, or he's in an incredibly negative mood at this point. Of course, the poem as well, with its reference to winter, is an example of pathetic fallacy. Winter is always so harsh, cold, and unforgiving, which reflects the state of the relationship. The image of waterlogged earth gulping for breath is an example of personification, where human attributes are given to something which isn't actually human. The ground is not human, but the ground is described as gulping for breath. Of course, the ground cannot gulp for breath, but it's just describing that where they stand into the ground and it sort of sucks at their feet because it's waterlogged. The idea of being waterlogged and the idea of gulping for breath as if drowning suggests that the relationship is overwhelmingly filled to bursting point, perhaps, with negativity. It's as if they're full of hatred for each other. But the natural imagery does change. It starts to become positive with the introduction of the swans. The picture on the screen shows what they watch the swans doing, diving half under the water, but doing it at the same time. You don't know how many hours I spent looking on Google Images for that picture. Well, maybe hours is the wrong word, but it took me a while. So the metaphor, icebergs of white feather, and the metaphor porcelain are both positive images. The colour symbolism of white suggests purity and positivity. The image of porcelain is a metaphor of something beautiful and to be treasured and valued. And of course, you could say that iceberg could be seen in a negative way, but we can see it in a positive way as well. It symbolises the firm foundations the couple have. There is more beneath the surface, just like an iceberg. So they might be going through this tough time at the moment, but underneath the foundations of the iceberg, the foundations of their relationship are bigger, wider, and stronger and more firm. So the shift from negative natural imagery to positive is a structural feature which symbolises the shift in the relationship from negative to positive as well. There's quite a bit of enjambment in the poem, where sentences continue on to new lines, but most interesting is perhaps this one in stanza 1, and then a break in which we walked. Now the actual break in the line here reflects the actual break in the weather, and this is similar to what we see in the turning of the plough in Seamus Heaney's Follower. The break, the forced break in the poem in the line here through the enjambment on the word break also reflects the breaking point of the relationship between the two people in the poem. The caesura is interesting, the use of punctuation within a line. As we skirted the lake, comma, silent and apart. The comma causes us to pause. It emphasises the separation between the two. So in a relationship that was so bad, the reader has to wonder just how the sight of the swans makes everything so much better. Let's have a look at it. A show of tipping in unison, as if rolling weights down their bodies to their heads, and then a little bit later they halve to themselves in the dark water. I think the word show is important here. It suggests that the speaker felt that what was happening was just for the couple to watch. And on a simple level, looking at the swans moving together in a symmetrical movement makes the couple realise that love and togetherness is possible. Basically, they're looking at the natural world and they're thinking about what is possible in their human relationship. But we could say there's more to it than that. They halved themselves in the dark water is a powerful image. It reflects the moment that both birds duck under the water, the moment we can see here on screen with only half of their bodies still above it. And this idea of halving yourself is quite a rich image, because it could suggest that they have to give themselves to each other. They can't be independent and selfish in this relationship. They've got to halve themselves to give themselves to each other. And of course, the idea of two halves making a whole sort of suggests that only together is there unity. The simile, returning again like boats writing in rough weather, you might need an explanation of that. So basically, boats have ballast in them, water in the boat, which means that it will always right itself. Even in a storm, if it's pushed sideways, it will then spring back to being upright. Now, this simile gives hope to the couple that they can survive the rough weather of their relationship. And sure enough, the water is soon stilling, which gives hope to the couple that they can get things back on track. If you think about it, when does it start stilling? Well, it's only after the woman says they mate for life. So it's almost as if the woman saying something to the speaker is the first piece of dialogue in the poem, and it reflects how the woman is reaching out to make the relationship right. Her doing this, her giving a sort of lifeline, an olive branch, as it were, to her partner, metaphorically begins the stilling of the water in the next line. Now, the couple clearly learned a lesson looking at the swans, their commitment to each other. The swans here, do you like the way they make a little heart? The swans have this commitment to each other, and they are so united in what they do, and they stay together forever. And this has such a positive influence on the couple that actually the speaker talks about where the hands swum the distance between us. Now, the use of swum is important here. It's another metaphor, but it's one that suggests the couple are now mirroring the swan's actions. The swans were swimming in the lake, and now the hands of the couple are swimming towards each other. The influence of the birds has been positive, and this metaphor is extended with the folding of the hands like a pair of wings. The swan imagery suggests they are following the example of the birds in being united. Now, a Guardian review of the entire collection of poetry said that the confident use of internal and sprung rhymes produces an easy lyricism, while his rhythms are wonderfully dexterous, at times so delicate as to be sensed rather than heard. And I would have to agree, at first it doesn't look like there's much going on with rhyme, but actually there's a lot of half rhyme in this poem. So the poet's use of rhyme reflects the two distinct stages of the relationship that's being explored. A lot of half rhyme is used where there's a partial rhyme between two words, but not a complete rhyme. It might be that the vowels rhyme, but not the consonants at the end, or the other way round. And almost every stanza contains a partial rhyme, a half rhyme, but not full rhyme. So all rhymes with walked, in that it's the all sound. Earth and skirted has the sound. Show and rolling has the o sound. Water and weather has the sound at the end. Life and light have the lie sound at the beginning. So there's this deliberate use of partial rhyme, of half rhyme, which suggests that, of course, the relationship is problematic. It's not full or perfect rhyme because the relationship itself is not full or perfect. But we move towards a fuller rhyme as the couple start to hold hands. And we see one example here, sand and hands. It's still not quite full rhyme because of the S at the end of hands, but perhaps it hints at the improvement in the relationship as the rhyme becomes fuller, reflecting how the relationship is becoming fuller, but not the total solving of all problems. It's not yet perfect, but the use of rhyme, moving from half rhyme and moving towards a fuller rhyme, reflects how the relationship is improving, just as the use of rhyme is improving. So what can we talk about to finish? Well, the poem ends with a full stop. And this is the poet's use of punctuation for effect, to suggest that the trouble in the relationship has come to a close, the storm has passed, and things are on the mend. I hope you found this video useful. Please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you check out my playlists for over 1,000 videos like this to help you.